Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out.
In the old days, we used to do a lot of sales training, and we would call it the highway of selling. And the highway of selling was you're traveling down the highway, your end destination, the end of the freeway, the end of the highway was the closed sale. And I think about a parallel with coaching conversations. We have a destination. We want someone who's lazy to be energetic. We want to get them to that end destination. We have someone with a negative attitude who doesn't play well with others and are poor teammates. We want them at the end of the highway to become great teammates. But along the way, when we're traveling, there are these things called exits. And the reason people want you to take an exit is because it's a defense mechanism. You're getting too close. See, often when we're coaching people, we're holding up a mirror. It can be very uncomfortable for people to look in that mirror. So when we're coaching and having conversations, what's your destination? After each conversation, are you on an exit ramp? Are you still traveling down that path? Now, here's the funny thing about coaching conversations and conversations in general. How often do we start a conversation with a friend and an hour later we're on a completely different topic, and then later we kind of wonder, how the heck did we get here? So when we're coaching people, it's not because the people we coach are bad people or they're resistant because they just don't care. It's a natural tendency. People who need to improve don't come into your office and say, boss, I'm stagnant. My attitude's terrible. I've also got to tell you, I'm quite lazy. You need to start coaching me. Now, I bet you're laughing. Wouldn't that make life easier if they just did that for us? So when we're coaching people, what is your destination? Do they know the destination? Do they know where things need to end up? Do they even want to get there? Rest assured, when you're coaching and you're traveling down that highway, there are going to be exit ramps. Ask yourself, how can I conversationally get back on track? Let me give you a few tips. When you're coaching, know your destination. When you're in a coaching session, what's your objective? What are you trying to achieve in that session? Now, here's the funny thing. We're dealing with people. It's not going to be scripted. It's not going to always go perfectly well. So be okay that a coaching conversation is not one conversation. It is a series of conversations woven together. So when we're having this conversation, look down. Look at your objective. Ask yourself, are we in a wheel of momentum or are we on an exit ramp? And that'll be a really good gauge. And one of the best things you can do is not to look at someone abruptly and say, well, let's get back on track. Is maybe throw yourself in the sword a little bit and say, Bob, I feel like I got a little bit lost there. So I really apologize. We were talking about the way you integrate with your teammates. Own why you may have gotten off on the exit ramp. They become less defensive, and it maintains a smoothness of conversation. I just had a conversation with a manager who went through this very thing. I said, oh, how did you handle it? He said, well, I told them, I really feel like you're being defensive. I said, so what was the facial expression you saw? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, what did you notice right when you said that? He said, well, I don't remember. I said, so did they open up and magically smile and become more transparent with you? He said, well, no. I said, so when you look at somebody and say, I feel like you're being defensive, what do you think happened? He said, yeah, she actually started to get more defensive. I said, own why you got off track. That's okay. It's just a conversation. If we maintain our navigation of conversations, knowing what our endpoint is, knowing what our objective is in each session, and asking ourselves, am I gaining momentum or am I on an exit ramp? And if I'm on an exit ramp, there's nothing wrong with looking at somebody and saying, you know what, Joanne, forgive me. I'm looking down at my notes. I think I got a little off track. Let me get myself back on track. We were talking about the way you communicate with your teammates. And then you just start the conversation back where potentially where you ended off. Conversations require navigation. Conversations require a really positive, comfortable disposition. Conversations are not perfect. They're not going to go like a script. Quite frankly, they're going to typically be off script. So, are you ready to navigate? Are you on track? Are you on an exit ramp? And those will be really good milestones for you to continually look down, take a deep breath, and see, am I on track? Am I traveling down the highway? Or am I on an exit ramp?
Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.